What's up, everybody? It's Albert Bushels here from the boat, doing another great episode of the Popcorn Talk with
The host with the most, Ethan.
and special guest.
Matthew Johansson. I'm a junior, and I'm a communication arts major.
Ooh.
Today we're going to be doing our favorite top 10 Marvel movies from the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe. Matt, I know you're a big Marvel fan yourself. What got you into Marvel in the first place?
So ever since I was a little kid, I've always I started reading comics actually when I was a little kid, and one of the first things ever that I ever read with comics was Spider-Man. So ever since then, anything Marvel related, I got really into. And when the Marvel Cinematic Universe was announced with Iron Man, I was so hyped because it was going to introduce us to characters that I didn't know so much about or didn't care so much about. As an example, Iron Man. And then
10 years later, look where we are now.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's crazy to see all these films being made and them making so much money. Because look, if it wasn't for Iron Man, I mean, there's no Marvel Cinematic Universe.
It would have gone nowhere. It would have been
Without
nothing.
Stan Lee.
Exactly.
Rest in peace.
Rest in peace.
All right, so let's get this top 10 list started. So where do you have on your top 10, Matt?
So the first one, definitely Black Panther for me.
The first one as number 1 or first one as number 10?
Number 10.
Number 10. We're starting
I
at
was
number 10.
going to say.
Number 10 will probably be...
Disrespect.
Disrespect.
Nah. Number 10 will probably be... This is a weird choice. Thor, the first Thor.
Okay.
Yeah, just to give a heads up, Thor Ragnarok is not in my top 10.
How dare you?
Yeah, I know. It's pretty bad.
Are you telling me the immigrant song being played 3 separate times did not make it into your 10?
Great song, but
Not a good movie.
not a good movie, yeah. Not that it's bad. It's actually right below Thor 1, which is number 10. So I have Thor Ragnarok 11. I just thought Thor 1, it just showed how Thor should be, honestly. I know the story may have not been, like, super strong compared to, like, Thor Ragnarok, but I also thought Thor Ragnarok had, like, a weird, like, vibe. I thought the pacing was weird. There was, like, 3 different stories being told in one movie, which was odd. I just thought Thor 1 kept it basic and simple. It gave us our first introduction to Thor, who I love to death, and I thought it was the best, like, interpretation of Thor that we have gotten so far besides Infinity War.
Okay, good.
Cool.
My top 10? Well, for number 10 for me actually is a shocker. It's Age of Ultron. Now,
Wow, that's really high up.
as it is, but when you hear the rest of the choices, well, first of all, a lot of the first films aren't really on my list. I mean, the only exception is Avengers 1, but that's obvious. That comes later on in the list. But Age of Ultron comes into a standing where it got a lot of hype following a very successful first Avengers movie, bringing one of the most pinnacle Marvel villains, I think, of all time in the form of Ultron AI, and just introducing 2 X-Men characters, which at the time Marvel had no rights over.
That's true.
We all had hype, and even though it wasn't what we had planned or hoped for it to be, I still thought it was a pretty suitable fit towards the universe, a nice way to just introduce Vision, a nice way to just...
Who I love, by the way.
Vision. Paul Bettany's great as Vision.
He
but,
really is.
I thought it was a very emotional film, which I liked. You know, some things like some of the action scenes kind of didn't feel right. The whole Black Widow, Incredible Hulk romance kind of
Felt weird.
Had a
kind
weird
of
vibe.
put me in a weird
Kinda
position as well.
Kind of happened out of nowhere.
That ending had me... I don't know how to... I liked the idea of like a new headquarters and everything, but just the whole Quicksilver death thing had... spoiler alert in case you haven't seen Age of Ultron or any of these movies.
Seen that coming? You didn't see that coming?
No, we didn't see that coming. But I thought I liked it.
My top 10 would be Iron Man 1. He makes it number... I really feel like if you just take Iron Man 1 and just take it out of the whole equation by itself, it's a very standalone film. If the Marvel Cinematic Universe went nowhere, it could still stay by itself, have a full, complete movie, and still enjoy it. And I feel like it was a really big, revolutionary thing for its time, and it really helped kick it off.
Number 9?
So my number 9 would probably be Captain America, the First Avenger. Okay. I know it's not talked about often, which kind of gets me upset. I thought it was a good introduction to Captain America. Chris Evans, God as Captain America, perfect role. I think he's the only person that could really play him as of now. I'm sure they could find someone if they're going to replace him. But I thought it was a good introduction. I love the whole story of how him and Bucky first met, how they're best friends and whatever. And I like I really loved Red Skull. I thought Red Skull is probably one of the best villains in the MCU as of now. He's probably like number 4 for me. And yeah, I mean, I thought everything about it was like really good. I also thought the score for the first Avenger was like top 3, top 4, easily. I thought the score is so good. It's the introduction to his first theme and his only theme, and I think the theme for Captain America is on point.
Nice.
Nice.
I'm gonna actually go with Ant-Man and the Wasp for my number 9. Now, I thought Ant-Man was a great introduction to the character, especially since we moved away from the whole Hank Pym story and went towards a Scott Lang type of story. And I thought Paul Rudd was great as a Scott Lang, and I thought the story was great. So bringing a sequel where his girl, well, is Hope his girl at this point?
Yeah, they're a couple. There's something.
They're
At the end of this,
together.
there's something.
But you know, the strong female power, and I actually thought she was a great, suitable side protagonist. But also, I thought it was really well done in terms of the comedy and the story and everything. The thing that really it actually did piss me off is the fact that there was really truly no antagonist in the film. And sure, you can make a good film without a real villain. But when your focus is on Ghost, who really isn't a villain, she just wants to survive, there really is no villain here except maybe the gangsters.
Yeah.
But other than that, I thought it was a really good, funny film. I thought it was a lot better than the first, and it's on my list.
I also just want to add one quick thing with the first Avenger. I also forgot to mention, I love Peggy. I love Peggy to death. And
Haley Atwell.
I just wanted to mention that because Peggy is one of my favorite characters, actually.
Albert?
For number 9, all right, so right now I'm doing this off the top of my head. I can't really think of a number 9 right now, but if I would have to say one on the spot, I'd say Captain America 1. Actually, no, I'd say Winter Soldier.
Ooh, that's an odd choice.
Why?
I think Winter Soldier is overrated. I think it's one of the most highly overrated MCU films, but I still think it's one of the best MCU films, though. And I assume you guys have it in your top 5?
Yes.
No.
Actually, wait. No, I put Captain America 1, then... No. Hold up.
What's number 9, Albert?
Because I feel like I'm giving it too much disrespect. No, it deserves that much disrespect. Yeah, I'm putting it at number 9.
Oof.
9.
All right.
It's crazy.
What about you, Matt? Number 8.
The first Ant-Man. It's been a while since I actually watched it, though, so I don't remember much about it. I just remember it kind of being different from the other films released at the time. I also love Ant-Man. I never was a big fan when I was a kid, but it was like a good introduction, and ever since watching it, I actually thought Ant-Man is one of the coolest characters ever, honestly. I love the whole idea of it. But like I said, it's been a while since I watched it. The only thing I remember, again, is the score. And it had like that cool spy kind of theme going on. Yeah, it had like a spy theme going on, and I love that kind of music a lot. So I thought that fit really well with Ant-Man, honestly.
Nice. I'm going to go, here's a real shocker. I'm going to go with Civil War on this one. Number 8, Civil War. Now,
Number 6 will shock you.
Civil War really was weird for me because I went into it thinking, I bet I've been told I'm going to be jumping from side to side because of the reasoning that each side is going to have. I've watched this film 10 times in a row, and I'm still Team Iron Man. And for some reason, I can't seem to tell people that because they'll be like, what? You never once gone to Cap's? I'm like, no. There's limitations.
I mean, I'm just Team Iron Man because of Black Panther.
I'm Team Iron Man because
he had the more stack squad.
Iron Man is just the more logical person in this because Cap is just save Bucky, save myself. And in reality, you have to realize there are times where you can't just run amok like that. There's responsibilities. There's people you have to worry about if you just run amok doing whatever you're doing.
But Ethan, who watches The Watchmen?
Dr. Manhattan.
Okay, you're right. What number are we at right now?
We're at 8.
8. I'm going to go with, and say Ant-Man. Yeah, I think it was a really fun movie.
Okay.
It was a fun little spy movie, just a little, palate cleanser. Like, yeah, I enjoy this.
Yeah, exactly. All right.
So number 7 for me is the first Avengers.
Wow. Okay.
It's not bad, and I don't think it's amazing. It's our first introduction to the team, and I thought it was a good introduction. The battle scenes are cool. The music is pretty cool. I honestly don't remember much about the whole film though, besides like the whole battle of New York, which is the biggest scene, and I just remember everybody remembers the shot where
All of them.
All of them are together. Yeah.
That's such a memorable scene.
It really is. Like that's an important scene I feel like too, and I just thought it was just a good film at the end of the day. Nothing amazing, nothing bad, just in the middle.
No, yeah.
Okay.
For me, I'm going to agree with Matt on this one. I think Avengers is number 7 for me as well. Going into it, I really did enjoy it. There were some moments where I was just like little nitpicks, nothing too major, but then at the same time, this is our first introduction to every single one, and it took a while for every single Avenger to get to this point.
Yeah.
Same thing with Infinity War. So it was just a moment of where that long patience was just so much expectations that you couldn't really seem to meet all those expectations, if that makes sense. But everything was good.
I'm gonna say Civil War for this one.
Hey.
I really liked it. I like how the whole setup. I liked. This is for number 7. Why is my number? I don't know. I just like Civil War. Number 7 of everything together.
All right, number 6.
Number 6 is Doctor Strange. I just thought Doctor Strange is cool. I always loved the character. I thought the film was really good. I remember seeing it in the theaters and being impressed by it. The visuals is probably like, you can make the argument that it's the best visuals in all the Marvel movies so far, compared with like Guardians of the Galaxy, probably.
All right. For me, number 6 is Winter Soldier. I was personally not a big fan of the first Avenger, even though I thought it was a great introduction to Cap. But Winter Soldier was like amazing when I first saw it. It was a whole different change to Captain America. You have the whole spy espionage. The thing that made me really happy was you actually were able to see Captain America get beat up. Like he wasn't completely invincible. Like this man took a beating.
Oh yeah, he got his day whooped.
Film. So that made me happy, and I thought it was a really good film.
Mine is Infinity War.
Interesting.
I think with all these big crossover movies, I think this is my favorite one. You really see the payoff of these past 10 years coming off together, and you enjoy these new chemistries that different players had with each other, and they really bounced and really went well and better than I expected. Though there were some issues with it, I feel like they could have been better. But again, part 2 is coming out, so let's see how that fixes it.
All right, we're in the nitty-gritty top 5, and I'm really excited to hear what everyone has to say. So, Matt, what's number 5?
Guardians of the Galaxy, the first one. I just thought it was really important. It's the first, like, our introduction to the whole space setting in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And honestly, it also made the Guardians really popular because they weren't big before this. And after just one film, they became the biggest in, like, the Marvel Cinematic Universe and one of the biggest in the comics when it comes to a team. And honestly, the effects are amazing, the visuals are amazing, and the soundtrack, I mean, that is all.
That is a bop.
Exactly.
Don't you start with bop. For me, number 5, number 5 is going to definitely have to be... when you get to the top 5, it's a really tough decision for me. With number 5, I'm actually also going to go with Guardians of the Galaxy. First of all, I'd never seen it or heard of what these 5 characters stood for, and me and my dad saw the trailer and we're like, we're going to this movie. I saw it said August. I was like, we're going in August. And my mom didn't like it. My mom only, like every other person who isn't a big Marvel fan, they were there for Groot. My mom walked out loving Groot. I walked out loving everything. The music was sensational. I'm trying to get the vinyl for it because we just got a record player in the house.
Nice.
But the soundtrack was great. Animations were fun. The CGI was great. Everything was just set up to be a successful box office film and just a critic's favorite and the audience as well. So I thought Guardians for 5.
My number 5 is Avengers, the first one. I like it's before Infinity War, obviously, but it's like you see that payoff in those like movies that came before, and like everyone was saying like this is never gonna work. You're never gonna get to Avengers, and then when you finally get that shot of all of them together, it just hits you going like, wow, this really worked. This is something, and it really kicked off something brand new in the industry. Now everyone's trying to do their own cinematic universe. We have the DC universe, a dark cinematic universe. We have like all sorts of different people trying to play catch up now, and they're not doing as great as Marvel. And I think Avengers is that staple mark saying they're changing the whole movie industry now.
All right, so number 4.
Iron Man. It's the film that started it all. Without it, there's no MCU. I still think that post-credit scene is the most important scene with Nick Fury.
Yeah.
That was so great. I saw that on the Intrepid, and we started screaming.
I also thought it was the best performance so far in the MCU. Robert Downey Jr. is born to play him, and I mean, honestly, without Robert Downey Jr., there's no Iron Man. Honestly.
Same. That's a good one. Number 4 was such a tough choice for me because it was a tie between Doctor Strange and the winner of my top 4 spot. And I don't know how you guys are going to feel about it. You might be weird about it, but I don't know how you're going to feel about it because I really enjoyed seeing this and it took me a while to see it. But number 4 for me is Spider-Man Homecoming.
Oh, yeah, legit. Same, actually. So
Spider-Man Homecoming was such a relief for me because I am still a huge fan of the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man films and couldn't stand the Andrew Garfield films for the life of me. So I was like, okay, Tom Holland, we're still going down in the age group, but let's see what they do with it. And it was a home run of a film for me.
Oh, my God, yeah.
Such great character developments in Tom Holland and Aunt May and the new female love interest. I forgot her name.
MJ?
No, not MJ. Laura Harrier's character. The one he the Vulture's daughter. But also Vulture, Michael Keaton. I love Michael Keaton, and
he's a god.
Just incredible in this film, and it was so funny. It was just a very lighthearted film that a lot of Marvel fans needed before the introduction of Infinity War.
I think it was lighthearted as well as has a dark undertone with it. My only gripe with the movie was that he relied too much on his technology, and I feel like it took away way too much of Peter Parker because Peter Parker is naturally smart, and they do show up, but he develops his own web shooters and all these other gadgets and gizmos.
But he also relies on technology even with his own homemade suits.
True, but him to get Stark's suit from the get-go has the AI and all that stuff. I feel like it just took a lot away from him. But still, I think it's phenomenal. It really sets that coming of age story and just trying to find who he is and how he fits into this world.
So we have a few minutes left, so let's get these last 3 films up and running. Let me get those top 3 films.
3 is Avengers Infinity War. It's the film we all have been waiting for years, and honestly, I thought the expectations, it exceeded them. The story was great, the pacing was good, a little bit issues here and there, but it was good. And for having so many characters, I felt like for the most part, they got every character to have a good amount of screen time, which was hard to do with how many characters they had. And honestly, I still cry when I see Spider-Man die.
I don't feel so good. Number 3 is also Infinity War for me. I always made a running joke with my friend from high school because he would always bring it up even though we were 2 or 3 years away from it when I graduated high school. And on my yearbook, he wrote Infinity War is just around the corner. And Infinity War kept getting pushed back because I could see it in theaters and then something happened and kept pushing back. So when I finally got to see it, I was in an emptier theater than I was expecting to be, but it was still a bunch of Marvel fans. Whenever something big happened, we would clap. But it was such an emotional and amazing experience. It was worth the wait for me. So, great story, great anime. It was good for me. I had little bits of issues. I think everyone had issues with the film, but I thought it was a really good film.
My number 3 is Doctor Strange.
Ooh.
Good choice.
I think it's something when we started getting to these films, the Phase 3 films, we started to see a change in the villain specifically. I think this is the first time ever that one of the few first times in the Marvel film that we saw a villain be defeated not by a fight of throwing the bigger punch, but more like negotiation and just being outwitted.
Yeah.
So that's what I really enjoyed.
Dormammu, I've come to bargain. All right, number 2.
Number 2 for me is The Winter Soldier. It's my second favorite, obviously, and it will always remain in my top 2. Something I love about it is that it's important to the MCU. It was a good take on Captain America. It was fresh and new. I also loved how one of you mentioned it before. He was getting pushed to his limits. So we never seen him get pushed this far before. He fought the Winter Soldier and got hurt while fighting him, and then also took down Hydra. And I just thought it was really good. The fight choreography was perfect, and the story was good.
My number 2 is Black Panther. Black Panther was amazing. I saw it on its opening weekend. The soundtrack, like I mentioned last episode, was historic in the fact of how much records it broke in a matter of weeks. The movie in itself was a historic, needed moment of a all-black cast and all first black superhero done well. And how serious Chadwick Boseman and Michael B. Jordan took these roles into making such a very beautifully artistically made film.
Both were fantastic.
My number 2 is also Black Panther. I really enjoyed this film because this is the first time in a Marvel movie where you can arguably say that the villain won. That at the end, Killmonger's ideology won. He may have lost the fight, but his ideology continued and actually won at the end, while T'Challa's fell apart. And that was, I think, to me, the most groundbreaking part of this film, aside from the soundtrack and the nice story elements and just a nice aesthetic design of everything together. So, everyone's number 1. So
I'm nervous.
All right, number 1 for me, Black Panther. The one thing I want to mention right away is the score by Ludwig Göransson. I might pronounce that wrong. That's my fault. It's the best score, in my opinion, so far. And the guy went all out with it. He went to Africa to like get the music vibe into the movie, which I thought fit really well with Wakanda. And honestly, Wakanda, like the piece Wakanda and Killmonger's theme is so beautiful and it has so much emotion in it. And the story's amazing. Ryan Coogler's a god. The characters are amazing, especially the female characters, Shuri, Nakia, Okoye. They all were important characters, and honestly, the visuals are good, and Killmonger is easily like my favorite villain besides Thanos.
My favorite one is Guardians of the Galaxy. I think it took something. This was something I thought was gonna fail. You're introducing a brand new team of people. You have to introduce everyone in the matter of hour 30 minutes, and give them the backstory and why we should care about them in all this short time. I was impressed. I love the soundtrack. I love the story itself.
Yeah.
Just a band of misfits and showing like your family isn't who you're related to, it's who you created to be. So many great elements in here, and I feel like every time I keep watching, I find something deeper. Ethan?
I'm ready for the criticism. My number 1 is Thor Ragnarok. I loved this movie. Now, you could easily say you have something wrong whenever you watch any movie, you find issues. I make sure to find something wrong with every film because that's me as a critic. But when I went into Thor Ragnarok, and every time I watch it on Netflix every week, I find nothing wrong with this film. This film is funny. This film gets me excited every second I watch it. Thor and Loki are amazing together. You have the Doctor Strange cameo. You have the Sir Anthony Hopkins. Hela as a villain was phenomenal because she was funny, she kept you on edge, and she overall was just that powerful where you're just like, wow, she might actually win until you have Surtur. But you just have so much into it where the story is just so well grinded where you think something's going to happen and then something completely different happens. My boy Heimdall's in this movie. Everything about it, Hulk, Valkyrie, everything about this movie makes me, as a Marvel fan, really happy. Stan Lee's cameo made me happy.
It's a good one, too.
The haircut. Everything just about this movie screamed amazing. That's why that movie, to this day, is still my only perfect Marvel film graded by me, by far, because that film makes me so happy, and it's my number 1.
Nice. Well, everyone,
thank you for tuning in to another episode of Popcorn Talk with me. Thank you, Matt, for stopping by and speaking with us. Excelsior
Anytime.
to everyone.
Excelsior.
And I hope to see you guys next week. Don't forget, my Instagram for critics is Bronx Movie Critic. And
my Instagram is Matt, MYRFan10.
And thank you all for watching.
My Instagram is @Cuban Get that Shaman plug. Thank you guys for listening to another great episode of Popcorn Talk. I'm Albert Bushels, signing off.